So I'm watching this movie, Memory, Liam Neeson. Your reaction to the opening scene is a really good reflection of how you process the world. Basically, we have a protagonist, Liam Neeson, who's going to kill a bad guy. We're going to assume it's a bad guy because the movie gives you a whole bunch of indications it's a bad guy. The same kind of indications that the real world might give you. The thing is that none of these indications are actually any good. They trigger you to think of him as a bad guy, but he didn't actually do anything bad. So this whole thing takes place in a parking lot of a hospital in the hospital. This bad guy, he should have your sympathy because he's visiting his dying mother, but he won't. In the comments, try to put the different clues that the movie gave you, things that actually did in real life trigger your alarms that this is a bad guy, that he doesn't deserve your sympathy, and that you should continue to support the protagonist. And then try to keep in mind in real life when you're walking around and you got a bad feeling about someone, what set off that alarm? And should it have been set off, or should you continue to listen to that alarm? All right, so take a look.
Buenos días. Te juro que cada día estás más chula. Claudia.
Eres muy amable. No puedo.
Qué bueno, porque no son para ti.
¿Nos dejas solos? Por supuesto. Hola, mamita.
Another thing that annoys me is what the brain would do in real life. So if that were really a situation, I want to take it from the perspective of the nurse. Let's say that in reality, the guy hadn't said it like that. In reality, he hadn't smiled weirdly or not smiled at all. In reality, he had avoided eye contact like he was supposed to. And in reality, he didn't laugh as boisterously and so on. The woman feels embarrassed. Even if the guy does it a completely different way, where he says, where he pulls up the flowers, she says, "Oh, I can't," and he says, "Oh, good, because they're not for you." Okay. So the dialogue basically stayed the same, but he just felt more uncomfortable. And there, in the moment, the woman, or at least a viewer, may then, rather than attributing her discomfort, her embarrassment to his actions and his intention, it would be like, oops, kind of a weird situation, kind of a weird, funny interaction. Then after the fact, though, even if it were delivered in that way, his comments, the woman could then still go back, and that lingering humiliation can trigger a voice in her head that, well, I haven't named it yet, but basically, if something bad happens to you, you look for the nearest intentional agent that could at all be believed to have caused your discomfort, and you blame that person, and also you believe that it was intentional. So then after the fact, she tells her girlfriends, "Oh yeah," and then he held up the flowers, and just long enough, he knew that I would think that they were for him. It's probably why he complimented me in the first place, and blah 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 blah. And then he laughed super loud, "Wow, yeah, bitch, you're so stupid." Of course, he didn't actually say that. But again, that the brain, we have this programming that we've evolved with, and one of the programs is find the guilty person. And sometimes you find a guilty person when there isn't one. So that's sort of a second piece of how this is of what this reminds me of in real life.